Hi, my name is Enrico, and my presentation is going to be over Parenthood and Children for SOC 323. Now, this assignment we were given a few questions to answer and for us to research. First question: what factors need to be considered when deciding whether to parent or not? First thing that comes to mind is the cost of a child and job stability, the couple relationship stability, family planning, and exactly how many children am I or we going to have. Now, in today's society, the cost of raising a child can be very expensive. And in order to raise a child, you need a job in order to bring the income to financially care for a child. Some of these costs can include up to healthcare, clothing, food, childcare and education, housing and transportation. This is the average cost of raising a child up to the age of 18 and can range up from $245,000 all the way up to $295,000. Couple relationship stability. The difference between single and two-parent families in this chart shows that in two-parent families with children seems to be flowing at a steady rate, whereas single parents fluctuates. It goes good or bad. Now, according to Lamanna, Riedemann, and Stewart, 61.4% are married couples, 25.9% are single mothers, 4.9% are single fathers, and 25.9% are unmarried, and 3.1% are grandparent families. With single mothers, about 40% of all births occur to unmarried women. Some of these births occur in same-sex couples and can occur in cohabiting heterosexual couples. And also, according to the authors of Families, Singles, and Marriages, about between 15 to 20% of all births occur to uncoupled and single mothers. Now, the percentage rate for a single father is relatively small. Only about 4.9% are single fathers. 5% for blacks, Hispanics, and non-Hispanic whites, and 3% for Asians. With single fathers, they face a challenge of stereotype as society sees them as being non-masculine, because with single fathers they have to play the role as mommy and daddy. But with single fathers, typically they assume their role because they have to step up in difficult situations and unforeseen circumstances. Lastly, there are about 11% of the United States of which grandparents are raising grandchildren. This is mostly due to the fact that once they take the children, it happened because of couple relationships who were unmarried parenthood, divorce or separation, poverty, substance abuse, HIV/AIDS, domestic violence, abandonment, or incarceration account for a very large majority of grandparent families. This also poses a great challenge to grandparents as they now have to step up as a parent once again in order to raise children and have to make significant unexpected changes in their life. Next, we have family planning. Now, with family planning, part of Planned Parenthood, according to David Loth, Planned Parenthood is the utilization of medical knowledge for the procreation of the number of children any given couple want to have born when the family is ready for them. And of course, if the couples are not ready for children, couples look towards birth control, latex condoms, diaphragms, and morning after pills in order to avoid having a child. Also, according to Rosalind Berkowitz, in Africa, America, women show a large biological only parenthood in their 30s and a large slice of custodial only parenthood in their 40s and early 50s. This doesn't just apply to African Americans, but for everyone else. This is due because people want to finish their education, want to be prepared to become parents. Studies show that parents with higher education are more likely that their children will be more successful and vice versa if kids grow up poor. The next thing we have to ask ourselves is how many children are we going to have? Now, in today's society, one-child families make up about 19 to 20% of American families. Part of this is due to increase of women career opportunities and aspirations. The high cost of having a child is a definitely big one. Individuals' desire to parent in a context or inadequate workplace support for the parenting role, and peer support, which is a choice to have one child, becomes easier to make as couples do so. It's also not how many children we should have, but how spaced out should our children be. Now, according to context, parents who have children while younger may coat them close together. Excuse me. May want them close together because they believe that having children close in age will encourage their playing together and make parenting easier. But also, of course, with women with short birth intervals, they are at higher risk of preterm deliveries, low birth weights, and adverse material outcomes. The pros: waiting longer to have the next child for the next child benefits the older one academically. This is according to Lamana, Reedman, and Stewart. How have the trends in parenthood changed? There have been recent major changes in the way couples are having children, or vice versa. As for example, couples are relying on science to help become parents. For this reason, couples who cannot conceive have science such as IVF and surrogate mothers to help with the parenting process. Now, as good as this sounds, surrogate births can be very costly, costing from $60,000 to $80,000. All the while the surrogate mother earns only $20,000 to $25,000. Also, as stated before, families are becoming one-child families due to the high cost of raising a child or problems conceiving. Parents who do not turn to science for help look towards the adoption process. Now, there are legal concerns such as the birth parents claiming rights to the biological child after the child has been adopted. But there are also public and private adoptions. To go through public adoption process means you have to go through a licensed agency, with a private adoption which is arranged between the adoptive parents and birth mother, also through an attorney. Now there are also those childless, which couples who are childless feel society sees them as selfish for being childless, but not having children can mean more leisure time and more time to travel, pursue greater career opportunities, but again, it's also because they are most likely having conceiving issues. According to David Loth, the failure of a marriage to bear fruit can be a disrupting factor even in the absence of mutual recriminations. Feelings of guilt or inadequacy lead to dissension or unhappiness, just as readily as does an open quarrel. With the help of clinics that specialize in fertility, the science IVF surrogates have been able to save marriages. What are some advantages to parenting in the 21st century? Today, we have the support from our family and friends if needed. When being a single parent, which is difficult, we rely on family friends to help us however way they can. For those who have a hard time conceiving, as stated before, science is there, such as treatment clinics and surrogate mothers who are willing to give birth to a child that will soon go to a mother that wouldn't have been able to. This is technology mothers or couples wouldn't have received years ago. Now, what are some of the challenges to parenting in the 21st century? Now, with raising a child in today's century, parents are faced with a numerous amount of challenges when raising a child. Parenting roles may conflict with working roles. Employers normally demand that work comes first. Parenting Parents raise their children in a pluralistic society sometimes characterized by conflicting values which include school pressure, TV, music, movies, and the internet. Parents influence their children's health, weight, eating habits, intellectual abilities, behaviors, and self-esteem. Another difficult situation for parents is when having to care for their elderly parents who are ill while trying to care for their own children. This can increase the stress level for families. Today, communities show less willingness to support public schools as there is a decline in raising children. Parents are responsible to raise a good child, but communities such as the state may question the parent's authority. They will question the parent's decision about school disciplining, medical care, and children's safety as automobile passengers, which causes a challenge for parents to be parents. This has been my presentation for Parenthood and Children. These are my references. Thank you.